Hi guys, and welcome to this video. This video today is actually a video response from a guy called Hated Lone. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. But he said, how did I make my intro? Now, if you've been seeing some of my other videos recently, you'll notice that the intro I just showed you is actually different to my old intro. I'll play my new intro now, and now my old intro. And you can see there's a ton of differences. The first one, the new one's wider and the texture's metal, and the old one's plainer and it's less wide at the end. So I just wanted to show you how I made my intro. Also, comment guys if you think the new one's better or the old one. And also, this video is aimed at intermediate users who sort of already know how to use Blender. If you want to know how to use the basics of Blender, I've also got a video coming out that says how you can create an intro, not necessarily like mine, but how you can create an intro using Blender for your YouTube channel. So if you want to see that, click the annotation right here. But otherwise, we can get straight into it. This is just a quick little video, actually going to be pretty long, but let's just do this. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the text. So when you create your intro, the first thing you're going to add is text. So Shift A, or you can go into create over here, and you go Shift A, and then you go down to text. And once you've got your text, let's just move this up a bit using this arrow here. We can see it just says text, so you go into edit mode by clicking this right here and going into edit mode, and you can now type whatever you want, such as, hey, my name is Mr. Cool Dude. Yeah? And now once you've got this, there's something else you want to do, and that's rotate it, right? So as you can see, we want to rotate it along this x-axis, and we want it to rotate it by 90 degrees. So we can press R to rotate it, and we can see we can rotate it here, but we want to align it just to this x-axis, and we also want to make it a specific value. So type in 90 on your keyboard and press enter, and we've got it straight 90 degrees. So let's just move this out, and we can see that we've got our hey, my name is Mr. Cool Dude. Now let's just move this back just a little bit. If we go into our text here, then there's a whole bunch of things we can do. We can change the font, so just go down to your regular here and click this button, and your fonts, I don't know if you're like in a PC or something, but they should be in your library folder if you're on a Mac, and I think it's down in fonts, and you've got all the fonts that you've got installed. Obviously I have a real ton of them. I love getting fonts and using them, so let's just get one Clee. I have no idea what this looks like, but let's just get Clee. Oh, hey, my name is Mr. Cool Dude. That looks a lot more authentic now. So that's how you change your font. But you can also extrude it, so as you can see it's actually coming out and it's 3D, and that's a really cool effect, so just extrude it like so. Offset is how thick or thin you want it to be, but it also like does weird stuff like this and that, so I would only use this to marginally make it thinner or something like that. I actually use this in here, you can see it's 0.02. So there's also the depth of bevel. So bevel pretty much smooths the edges, and it creates like a bevel, if you know what I mean. It creates an extra edge in that shape, and the resolution is how many edges it creates. So if we change this to say 3, then it becomes immediately a lot smoother. So that's resolution and all of that, and extrude and stuff. So that's all you really need to know about the text. Now, also, I've got a background drop here. Now, I'm going to go through the texture of the metal later, but pretty much, I've just got these planes. I subdivided it so that I could get this square here, extruded that, subdivided it, extruded it, subdivided it, and extruded it. If you obviously don't know how to do this, then what you do in edit mode, I probably shouldn't do it with this because it's subdivided a crap ton, but if we go to here in the plane, we can go W, press subdivide, and create some more cuts, and then select a certain face and press E, maybe 1, that's pretty high, and then subdivide that again, and again subdividing that by something like that, 0.2 I use there. So that's basically what I did for this. It's really simple, and I also extruded this wall in the back here. It used to be much bigger, except after I added the texture and the displacement, which I'll get to later, then that all changed and I had to delete a lot of those faces. So for the text, if we look at the material of the text here, let's just go to our camera view. So we can go to view and camera, or if you're on a numpad, let's just scroll to the end of this animation. If you're on a numpad, you can press 0, I think it is. Don't quote me on that though. Yeah, it's numpad 0. And so now we can change it to viewport shading rendered, and this is what it'll look like when you've completely rendered everything. So let's just select the text here. I'm going to select the films text, and if we go into our materials here, we can see that I haven't actually created this. Oh, I haven't. I got this this material off, I think it's blendswap.com. There's loads of free models, and I got these ones from blendswap.com as well. There are loads of free models there. I highly recommend you go there. It's free, and you can download loads of free models and things. So I got this texture off there, and I changed the color. So, or maybe I didn't. I really don't know. I think I've played with this a lot. So I created a mix shader, which mixes two types of shaders. I am in cycles, by the way, and it's a toon and a glossy. So that creates a really solid color and also really glossy, so that the light from behind is really glossy and reflects on it really nicely. For the floor, I used to have a different texture, as you like in the old intro. I don't know if you remember that now, but I've added this texture, as we'll get to later, because that's more complicated. So now another thing, the models, again, I just said I got them from blendswap.com. It's really easy. Obviously, I'm not paid by Blendswap or anything, but it's a really cool website. There are loads of other cool websites out there. Websites such as turbosquid.com aren't just for Blender, and they get really professional models which you can use in all sorts of programs. But Blendswap is really good for Blender. Now, also, I have a lamp. As you can see, this lamp, and that's also a model from blendswap.com, and it's really cool because what I did inside, if we just zoom right in to inside the lamp, inside this somewhere we've got a light. I really don't know where it is, but inside here somewhere we've got a light. That's the point I'm trying to make. And this light is illuminating the background, and it's obviously a light. And this texture here, yeah, the glass here, it's a glass, like actual glass, so it's see-through, and the light actually spreads out from inside there, and it's got a really diffuse look, and it looks really nice. I just thought I'd mention that. And so now I just want to go through the texture. So the texture of the metal. I got this texture just by googling it. I searched up something like steel, a steel texture. I can't remember what, like diamond steel texture, seamless because then it will loop, even though they cheated me and this one isn't seamless, but never mind. I searched up, try and make sure you get a seamless one, because then it won't have these lines like so. But nevertheless, what I did was I got this texture, and to apply a texture, you just go into your materials, and instead of having the surface, you can have the surface diffuse, so change your materials surface to diffuse. If you know how to use Blender, you probably know how to do this, so I'll go through it really quickly. Change the color from an RGB color to an image texture, open it using this button, and then if you go into edit mode, and actually just to make it easier, you should go into compositing, go into edit mode, select everything by pressing A, and press U, and unwrap it, and that way it'll unwrap it onto here, and you can scale it scale it with this texture here. Oh, by the way, to open it you just press this button, or choose it from your menu of textures. So you just scale it. So for now, example, mine will now look completely different. It is way smaller now, but nevertheless, that's pretty much what you do. Now the next thing I want to go through after the texture is the displacement. So as you can see, there's actually real bumps inside this texture, and it's just a flat image. But what I did is I used this program called Crazy Bump. There's this really cool video about how you can use all these maps and this app called Crazy Bump. I'll put the link right in this annotation right here, so go ahead and click on that. It's not by me, but it's a really cool video. I reckon you should see it. And it covers how to do displacement maps. But I just went into modifiers, added a displace, and you choose your displacement map, and from here, and you set the strength, and you got these really nice textures. And that, by the way, is why I subdivided everything so that it could actually move the textures. And so there's one more thing, or a few things I want to talk about here, but I just want to get quick. So not many more things, just a few things now I want to talk about. One of them, it's pretty much the camera settings. So as you can see, the camera's moved from here to here throughout the video. So let's just go into camera view. Press Alt-A to play back this timeline. It's only at half the frames per second I would like, or less than half. But you can see that it moves from there to here, as you probably saw in my intro. Sorry about that bump. So to do this, you have to use keyframing. I've made a video about keyframing in HitFilm 3 Express, and it explains what a keyframe is. So if you want to see that, go click on the annotation right here. I'm doing a bit of self-advertising here, aren't I? But anyway, so what you do is you basically set the type of keyframe you want. So I just set location, and every time you want to make a keyframe, you press this button, and then at the end you change the location, or location and rotation, location, rotation and scale, all sorts of things. And you press the keyframe button again, and between these two keyframes it will smoothly move from one to the other. You can also create keyframes on all sorts of things. For example, if you want to create like a dolly zoom, you can change the focal length and set keyframes on that. There was something I used to set a keyframe on, but I decided not to do that, and I can't remember what that was. But yeah, you can set keyframes on all sorts of things. Now, there's also one thing I want to go through, and that's the focusing and depth of field. So if you notice, one difference between my old intro and my new intro is the use of depth of field and out of focus areas. So here's an image of the light bulb, and it's without depth of field and blurriness, and you can see that the background's in focus, very, very sharp, and so is the light bulb. They're both in focus. However, in this image, the light bulb is in focus, but the background's out of focus. And this is what would happen when you're using your eyes or a camera, a real life camera. You have to focus it on something. And a cinematic look is generally to have it focus on something and have everything else blurred, because then you can draw your attention to a certain thing. I don't want to draw the audience's attention to the metal in the background. I mean, it's cool, but the light is the main point, and that's why my channel is called Shiny Films. So to do this depth of field effect excuse me, in Blender, then we have to go into our camera settings here when you select the camera, and you have to set a focus point, a point you want the camera to focus on. So if I just set the samples here to say 5 and the percentage here to like 37 or something, we can do some quick demos. So for example, if I just render this frame real quick. Okay, so when we render this, we can see that the light bulb will be in focus and the background will be blurry. In fact, I'm just going to even maybe render it a bit more than that, so maybe 7 samples or so. Okay, so when we render this, we should be able to see that the light bulb will be in focus, but the background will be out of focus and blurry. So we can see the light bulb has very sharp edges here. Sorry for the pixelation, but just for the purposes of this video. And the background is really blurry. And even the A is really blurry, and I got this really nice shallow depth of field effect here by setting my aperture to 0.3. So that is really cool. However, we can actually change the point at which the camera focuses on. So I've got this empty here. To add an empty, create an empty by going Shift A, empty and plane axes, or whatever, it doesn't really matter, that's just the reference. And you see I've created a couple of keyframes for the position of this so that it moves focus as the render goes on, and that way it's not always focused on the light bulb, and it's subtle, and you probably didn't notice it when you first saw it, but it really makes a big difference. So at this first keyframe here, let's just change the position to be right on the background here, right there. I'm just going to set a keyframe for location, and now we're going to render this one more time and we'll see what happens. This will be interesting, I've never done this before. Okay, so as we can see, the lamp is really blurry. It's actually sort of jagged edges because I haven't rendered it very well, but the background is completely in focus. So that's just to show that we can change the focus point in the video. Now, as I said before, I've created keyframes in this video for this to move from here all the way down here. And, well, let me go back to the camera here. Okay, so if we go into our camera settings, we can actually change all sorts of things about our depth of field. So the f-stop or radius is, I use f-stop because I'm used to f-stops in photography and all sorts of things. So 22, the higher the number, the more stuff's going to be in focus that isn't where you want to be focusing. So 22 is a really common, really high number, and that way everything will be in focus. In fact, this render right here is in 22, whereas this render here is in 0.3. And something like 0.1 would create a really shallow depth of field, and I'm not going to render that, but that would be a really shallow depth of field. So blades is the number of blades in the bokeh in the iris of the camera, and I'm not going to go into long depth explanation about this, but if you have out of focus things in your video, then it will have like balls of light. If you've ever seen those balls of light in photographs, then they often have like polygons because that's the way the camera works. So 6, I set my balls of light to be hexagons. You probably didn't understand that, but whatever. And that's how rotated they are. So that's pretty much it for the most part, guys. There's one more thing I want to talk about now, and that's rendering. So how you can render your video, and just some settings I used. So when I rendered my video, I rendered it at 1080p Full HD. And to render a video, you set your folder here. You set the number of samples, which is pretty much the quality of and how many times it takes to reduce noise and to get better images. And this is for the actual render, whereas this is for the preview when you go into your viewport shading here. And you can also set your frame rate. So to start your animation or to your video, you can start it at 1 and end it at 160 or whatever, how many frames you want. And to get the number of seconds, you simply use the number of frames, 160, and divide it by the frame rate, and you have 5 1/3 seconds. At least that's how long my intro is. So now there's also other things that I did here. So if you can look at this example here, this is an example, obviously with the aperture's at f22, like I said before, but this is with no caustics here. This little checkbox here ticked. Now let's uncheck it, and we can see the difference. There's a whole ton of white things called fireflies, and these are real pain. No, caustics are a really great part of your image, and they're really important for shadow detail and all sorts of things. However, in an image like mine, there was just so much it's so much more worth it to get those no caustics and to get rid of those fireflies, and that'll help get rid of those dots all around your image if you're having a problem with those. Also, if no caustics is just too much and it degrades the look of your image and the lighting that you wanted, then you can just ramp up the filter glossy, and that will do a similar sort of thing, but just not as much. There's also motion blur, so you can set your shutter here, film exposure, of course, and clamp, so for example, here's with the clamp I use, and here's without. I don't actually know why I use clamp, but I pretty much added this brightness back in post later anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Also, one real good tip that I learned from a guy on YouTube, can't remember his name, but basically what you want to do when you're rendering your video is do not render your video as a QuickTime or an MPEG or an H.264 or anything. Render it as an image, as a JPEG. This may surprise you, but what you should do is create a folder at your destination, choose that folder here, and when you click animation, it will render every frame and save every frame. And this is really good because this took me ages to render. It actually takes a while, it took like 5 minutes per frame. So if I rendered this all as a QuickTime, what happens is you can't stop it, because when you stop it, you have to re-render the whole thing again. So when you render it in JPEGs, you can just go to the frame where you stopped, render it again, and then when you got all your frames done, you can go into this video editing, set your marker here, and just go add image, select all your images using A, drop them in, they'll come out as an image strip, and then you just go back into your default and render it as an animation with your QuickTime or your H.264 or whatever. So yeah, use the JPEG, that's what I did, and it really, really helps. So that's it for this video, guys. I know it was a real trick, 25 minutes or so, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, obviously leave a like and subscribe. I hope this video helped you guys, especially the guy who commented, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video.